Scott with you again today. We were looking at the church in Pergamos yesterday and the fact that they got involved with the practices of the Nicolaitans, which Jesus said, I hate it. Today we're going to look at the church in Thyatira, and I won't spend much time on this church because it's outlined, or it's highlighted by the fact that they had accepted the Jezebel spirit, the prophetess, the false prophetess, into their midst called Jezebel. The Jezebel spirit is a spirit of control, it's a spirit of non-accountability, it's a spirit of independence, and you're going to do what I want you to do or else. And Jesus told them to repent of this spirit, get this out of their life, or else their children would suffer greatly from it. We do see churches today, and we see families today that are under that kind of a control spirit exercised by either the head of the house, the husband, or the wife, as the case may be. But we don't want to see this in our church. We don't want to see it in our homes. That Jezebel spirit is a very destructive spirit. I suggest you remove it as quickly as possible. Then we look next at the church in Sardis. The church in Sardis was known as a dying church. It was essentially spiritually dead. It had followed the route of many churches that we see today in our society. A lot of churches closing, a lot of churches having no vibrancy anymore, going through the motions. 2 Timothy 3 calls it a church that is without power. It has a form of godliness, but it lacks the power thereof. And Jesus said there are only a very few believers in this church in Sardis that have kept their robes clean, which means that they've kept their salvation. They have continued to walk in salvation and practice their salvation. But he says, you've done well, and I'm pleased about that. But he then addresses those whose activities and their actions have gone in the opposite direction. And he says, since you have not kept your robes white, since you have not kept your interest, you have not kept your excitement, you have not kept your involvement, I will blot your names out of the book of life. So many churches today operate under the premise of once saved, always saved. I wrote a book a number of years ago called Once Saved, Always Saved, ... maybe not. I examined scriptures all through the New Testament and some in the Old Testament that indicated your salvation was not an absolute guarantee. If you did not live the way God intended for you to live, if you did not live the way Jesus Christ intended for you to live. And here in this church, Jesus says, since you have not stayed up to the level that I want and that I insist on, I'm going to blot some of your names out of the book of life. That means you're not going to make heaven. You're going to miss heaven. And we don't want to see people lose their salvation, and we don't want to see them miss heaven. But sometimes trying to energize them and excite them and get them involved as they should be, it's going to take a miracle. It's like we're raising the dead some days. Well, I've committed, I hope you have, to being alive and vibrant for Jesus right to the very end, so you will not miss that heavenly call when he comes to call the church up to heaven. I'll see you tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Thanks. Bye.